In our last lesson, we learned about fundamental securities. We learned that stocks and bonds are really just a way of sharing the goodies that a corporation owns and the cash that it produces. In this lecture, we'll learn about stock markets, the institutions that let people like us buy and sell these securities. We'll learn that although the technology is high-tech and becoming more sophisticated every year, the basics are a lot like markets we encounter every day, such as markets for groceries or cars. If I asked you to think of a market for produce or for meat, then you'd probably feel comfortable with your understanding of the way those markets work. See, you have the main idea already. The rest is just details. Let's look more closely at the concept of a market. What is a market anyway? According to Merriam-Webster, the first definition boils down to just a meeting of people for the purpose of trade. There. That's all there is to it. You and I get together, perhaps in person, perhaps by phone or computer link, and we try to make a deal. Sometimes the goods are physically present at the market, like at a grocery store. Just about everything we buy is right there. We put it in our cart, and off we go. Sometimes the goods aren't physically present, even at the grocery store. For example, I might agree to buy a cake that you haven't even baked yet. There's nothing very mysterious about a market for food, is there? A market for houses is different from a grocery store in some ways. Apples at the grocery vary in quality, size, and price, but they're all pretty much the same compared to houses. Houses differ a lot more in a lot of different ways than apples. Sure, we expect apples to vary a few percent in price, but houses can differ by a factor of 10, and we aren't surprised at all. Houses differ in size and age much more than apples. I can do some repairs or update an older home, but I've never heard of anyone updating an apple. These factors make a big difference in the structure of the market for apples and the market for houses, but the bottom line is that these markets are just a meeting of people for the purpose of trade. The same is true for the market for stocks, which is often just called the stock market, even though there are many stock markets around the world. Stock markets are just places or financial networks that let people trade shares of stock. Markets that work well share common traits. Competition is at the top of my list. I want lots of potential buyers if I'm selling, and on the other side of the deal, you want lots of potential sellers if you're buying. Nothing protects consumers better than competition. High trading volume is another plus. If I know how much 100 different people paid for their 100 apples today, then I have a good idea of how much I'm going to have to pay for the 101st apple. If there are lots of trades being made every day, then my trade isn't going to push the price very much in either direction. I'm going to get a price pretty close to the price of the guy who traded right before me, and it's going to be pretty close to the price that the guy who will trade immediately after me will get. That makes it far less likely that anyone is getting cheated. The concept of liquidity refers to the ability for a seller to find a buyer and to be able to make a deal without any trades being done at fire sale prices or at premium prices either. Well-functioning markets require both parties to have confidence in the terms of the deal. I need to be sure that if I mow your lawn on time and the way I promised to do it, then you'll pay me the price we agreed you'd pay. Contracts, even with strangers, are enforced by law in well-functioning markets. For the most part, goods and services should be pretty much as advertised. Warranties must be honored. You need to know that I have clear title to the car I'm selling, and sure enough, institutions like title companies have evolved to ensure that you do. Well-functioning markets also have low transactions costs, or at least as low as possible. Let's consider the U.S. housing market. Are its transactions low cost? A standard realtor's commission on a nice home